Hello. Are we live?
Yes.
Woohoo! Well, welcome to our Halloween LinkedIn Live with the Portland protester, the rat, specific kind of rat. Zane, what kind of rat are you?
Yeah. So I'm Splinter from
Ah,
Ninja Turtles because my
yes.
kids my kids demanded to be Ninja Turtles for Halloween. So
Oh, that's
I'm
adorable.
Splinter, and then my wife is gonna be Pizza.
Your wife is going to be pizza. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, hopefully a few folks will join us. But we're going to talk about how SEO is, or sorry, AEO is just SEO in disguise, which is, I think, a pretty appropriate pre-Halloween conversation. So I think I'm going to start this way. We've been saying that AEO is SEO in disguise, and so let's start by having each of you explain what that means to you in just a sentence or two. And I've got my take on that as well, but I'll let y'all go first.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if Mason's muted, so I'm assuming that means he wants me to go first, or he's battling an inflation fan in his frog costume. I don't
I think
know.
that's probably fair.
Uh, I think it's oh man. So in this like snapshot of how AEO is living today, it very much feels like SEO in disguise, in that, a lot of the old SEO tricks are sort of relevant again based on the way
Mhm.
that AEO works. But then I also think that in the long term, it's almost reversed. So it's almost that SEO is AEO in disguise, in that we were always sort of like going toward this arc of sort of less ambiguity in terms of the way that people find content. And we're going to work more and more toward a much more direct like connection of information and intent. And we're just like on that path. I
I
can
think that
here.
I think that goes along with what I was thinking, which is, keywords always felt like a weird way to try to reconcile with brand and messaging. I mean, it felt like a weird thing to reconcile with brand and messaging. And I had I think I had such a contentious relationship with SEO people, many of them, because of that, because they were just like, yeah, throw the word in there. I mean, like, but what if,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you know the word is the right word? How do you know, if that's really going to do anything? How many times do we have to say it? Half the time, it just didn't seem natural, right? So, from a brand perspective, now the technical fundamentals of search have, I think, evolved finally to reward what brand strategists have been advocating for years, which is what, clear positioning, consistent messaging, differentiated storytelling, and, doing good SEO, which, good SEO folks were doing, they were creating semantic authority, and they were creating, all kinds of other, like content clusters and things that were better than keywords. But, that's, you know, doing that good SEO and that foundation is now being rewarded. So I guess my bottom line is machines are reading a website now exactly the way that we've always wanted humans to. They're looking for clarity. They're looking for who you are and what makes you different. And now only having that clarity is going to be, that's going to be the technical requirement. Like if you don't have that, if you are mush and you have no point of view, you're just going to be invisible. So that's my take on it. Mason, do you have, I hate to ask, but do you have
I gotta get out of
any
this mask.
Thank
Sorry.
Mason, do you have any take on that?
I just deflated myself. I have to like go on and off mute to be able to do this. So let me go and inflate myself again. Um, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And we just got off a call with a group and we're seeing this firsthand, which is that early funnel type of traffic is getting consumed by the LLMs. And then the sort of mid funnel, higher intent traffic, uh, that's where we're seeing like higher conversion. And in terms of is AEO, sort of SEO in disguise? And I think it, as you said, Kendra, like, yes, very early probably SEO, where we were talking about, things like authority and around backlinks. So that's something that is definitely taking place today. Share of voice, which is this harder thing to be able to measure, but just kind of like your overall brand impression out there and how you are being represented now in these new bots. And so, yeah, I think it's a way for us to, it's a mental model for us to be able to talk about AEO as sort of this evolution of SEO. It's also, there's a technical component of this, like making sure that we've got pages that are maybe in a JSON format or an LLMO format. So I think there's a lot of parallels there for sure. And I'm inflated again. Is there the background hum, or how am I doing
No,
here?
you sound great.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
And
Really,
you look great.
I'm just going to continue to go as the frog,
You
and
should.
I'll wait every once in a while. So this is great.
Well, are there to you guys any specific SEO skills and practices that translate really directly to AEO success, just as a kind of a foundation and as a way to start?
yeah. I can go first again, or we can switch it up. What do you think, Mason?
No, go for it. I mean, we can now hear you appropriately, Zane.
Yeah, I have no idea what that sounded like, because to me it sounded like I was screaming into my own ear.
Maybe while other people are talking, you can go into rat mode, and then now you can, like, you sort of look like AEO Jedi Master right now.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so I think we talked a little bit about it. So the sort of like building up authority via backlinks is still going to be very relevant for the time being, probably for a while. And then some other things that have to do with, like, the old sort of pillar and halo content structure is again relevant, but it's a little bit different now, in that it's much more about having really tight, concise, authoritative content, instead of having like this loosely grouped thing that was more about making sure you had all the keywords connected to all the keywords. It's a lot more, and it's Kendra, you're talking about this. It's a lot more about how, like, making the content as a person would want to understand how it's related, so they can get there and they can navigate in a much more natural way. And I think, as you were saying too, like, good SEO was kind of already doing this, but now it's almost the rule instead of the exception, where
Right.
that's the way that we should be structuring things, is those like smaller, tighter, related content blocks that do link to one another, but specifically where they're actually related to each other. And then some other things, like, I guess, like that the answer first writing and title and H1 alignment, with this is specifically for AEO with query phrasing. So, but I think aligning a lot of the sort of like the headlines in your website for SEO with keywords and things like that are now sort of like transitioning to making sure that you're aligning headlines and like the first sentence under that headline with the sort of prompts and queries that people would be using in LLMs.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it just changes how it's just a foundational thing, but it's also changing on how we're presenting content, at least in a technical sense as well. Mason,
Yeah.
what do you think?
something I would also throw out there is we're talking a lot about optimization, and that's important. The thing that I think is probably more exciting is optimization is how you look backwards. And one of the questions that we're posing to our customers and clients is, how are you brave enough to be yourself? And how are you brave enough to have a perspective out there in the world that you can start to break through the slop? Because there's a ton of slop that's out there. And so now it's about making sure you're balancing looking backwards with looking forward. And I think that's where sort of like that understanding of brand, understanding around like who you are, what's your very clear position, how do you differentiate in the market, what are your competitive advantages, knowing all of those in the original PDF and going through that process, but then being able to get them clearly articulated on your website, and your website becoming not just a destination, but what I would see is a brand management layer or or a conversation management layer. And so now we're talking about AEO, but I think that there is going to be a part where just the idea of answers and optimization will and my bet is, we'll see, we can come back in a year, fade to, how do we in really create a true brand conversation. And, answers is like, I mean, I don't know how many conversations you've walked away from and you're just like, I had one answer, and it's more of like, there is a back and forth. There is a way that we start to relate to people and to brands. And I think that's what, I think there's a real opportunity, and, the thing that we're kind of like wading through. So, yeah. And free content. That's my
Free content.
I
Well,
think
let's, sorry, go ahead, Nate.
No,
Zane.
I was just going to say, I think there were some really good points in there that I kind of wanted to touch on as well, just in terms of like the overall arc of moving toward authenticity and helpfulness, and just like being not just like the brand being itself, but also the brand being itself as its most helpful self. Like
Yes.
if you can just be more that, and it again, we're like reducing the abstraction that SEO sort of used to fill, and moving more toward just like, yes, create all the content that's going to be helpful for the people who you actually want to help in like over the long term. And AEO in a lot of ways starts to take care of itself, or at least like the main core of it.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Let's talk about content for a little bit, because it's a big part of, the thing that we're all going to have to be thinking about with regard to, getting to be the right answer. And content is one of those things that we often have a hard time selling to our clients. Like, they know they need it, or they think they do, or honestly, some of them just don't think that they need it at all. Let's talk how critical is, really good proprietary research, original data, good content out there in the world that you're creating, but also other people are creating about you. How important is that in this new sort of AEO reality?
I'll jump in. For a long time, I feel like the website was just a facade, and it was sort of this brochure, and you build it and forget it, and maybe start to optimize on some keywords and try to have a keyword strategy and maybe a landing page strategy. But now, because so much of that early funnel traffic is happening outside of the content, or outside of the website, you just can't fake it anymore. And so that's where this notion of a brand management system, and having the real like nitty gritty details around your product clearly articulated, around your service, like what you believe in, like those types of things, that sort of really wide view of the world. That's where we're seeing our clients that are investing in really great content and understanding how to work within that content, where they're winning. And I think what's going to be exciting, and it's really going to start to set this next phase of the internet apart, which, again, for a long time, it was set it and forget it. It was big, bulky systems such as, Adobe Experience Manager or Sitecore, or clunky systems such as WordPress. And so now I think what is exciting is how to be able to, have that idea on a Monday, be able to turn it around, push it out there, focus on what matters, which is the customer experience and answering their jobs to be done. And then being able to step back and see what's working and what isn't.
Yeah. I mean, and my take on that is like, we've been screaming it from the rooftops forever,
Yeah.
that if you wanna have a presence out there, you gotta, do the work. And, I think that it's just critical for establishing semantic authority, essentially. Answer engines have already consumed and synthesized all the generic thought leadership out there, like everything that ever has been. It's all kind of background radiation now. So only content that really can uniquely come from your experience, your data, your connections, your relationships your methodologies, that's going to create that signal and all the noise that's going to, cut through. And so my hope is that, the next time we go and we sell a content generation process to someone that they'll be like, yes, this is a integral part of the process, and not just sort of a nice to have.
Yep.
Because it's
Yeah.
not anymore.
And Kendra, you've been talking about like content design for a long time.
Oh,
And I think now that's even more important, because it's not just content design, it's conversation design, and looking at as we talk about, one of the ideas moving from keyword clusters to answer clusters, and what an answer cluster really is the relationship between individual pages or atomized pieces of content. Something that I think we could have as a follow-on session to this is, a year ago, we made a big bet with our website, and we we're like, what happens when ChatGPT eats the internet? And we had really like a mixed reaction on that launch. I would say overall for us, it's been great because our net business is up. But we learned a lot of really important things. And one of the things was, while it looked like an AI first project, really it was content first, because content was the thing that absolutely, like, there was so much mapping. I mean, I think we spent months mapping content and how that conversation had to operate and work.
That we did.
Yeah. I mean, you're right there in the middle of it. I'd also throw out there, I don't know, Kendra, Zane, I can't touch my keyboard because I'm inflated. But if you have, if there's questions out there, I don't know if you checked on LinkedIn or on Twitter.
I have been watching, and we don't have any at the moment. I've also got Dea watching for us. So.
Okay, great. Cool. Well, I know sometimes it's one of these things where we record it and then come back in and, be able to slice some stuff up and get questions after the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any, just in the spirit of Halloween, are there any SEO practices that you could say have kind of come back from the dead in the AEO era? Like things, and I'll name one, like the importance or the usefulness of a really good FAQ section. I sort of had those, but now it's like, oh yeah, you gotta do it. So what else?
I just wanted to add too, like a little specificity around FAQs is that, yeah, they're back from the dead, but they're you kind of have to treat them differently now. So it's almost even more FAQ. So instead of just like, well, let's make sure we have a really good FAQ page, it's kind of more like, let's make sure that we're doing FAQ thinking all over the place. And also that like the answers, everything is about being concise and direct. Where in the past, SEO might have incentivized you to like stuff the answers with keywords. Now the opposite is true. It's like, make sure the answer is very concise and direct.
Absolutely.
And Kendra, I know you love that, because one of your big gripes for a long time has been, stop stuffing my content with random crap.
Words.
Yeah. So just get to the point. Tell me the thing,
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, when it was always felt weird to me to like, have the, and no shade on Michael, he's probably not watching right now, but he will later.
He's one of the good ones. He's one of the good ones.
He's the only good one I know, but I'm sure there are other ones out there. The only good one I've ever worked with for a long period of time. But when he would say, hey, these are the top ranking keywords, the things that people are searching for, I'm like, are they really? Because some of this stuff doesn't make sense. Like if I'm paying attention to the brand and I'm paying attention to the content, I'm paying attention to the topic, and I'm writing something and I can't fit those words in there, what are they really the words?
Yeah.
So that's my question in general.
What's the what do you guys think? What's the controversial topic in this? What do you think the thing is that people don't agree on that we could address?
I think it's schema and LLMS.text. I think that's
okay. Why is that controversial?
It's controversial, I think, because I think there are some assumptions being made about schema. So in the past, schema was helpful for ranking with SEO. With AEO, it's not quite as helpful in that way, because the robots, like the LLM bots, are just scanning the actual content most of the time. So like putting schema in there a lot of the time isn't going to be that helpful. There are some cases where it might be more helpful, where you've got like, if you're selling products or something like that from your website directly. And then the LLMS text thing is I think there's like a movement for that to become a standard. But again, like the bots are not really scanning that thing. So like if it gets like enough critical momentum, it could become something, but it's also very difficult to know whether or not that's going to have any value in the future because of the rapidity with which like LLM tech is advancing. So it's getting less and less abstract. And there's this kind of movement to like, oh, but we really love this abstraction because it helps us think about it in the old way that we used to think about SEO. We can now map that onto a new way to think about AEO, but like there's kind of a misalignment in the way that technology works and the way that Google's algorithms would work.
Well, also, if you remember the rise of mobile, there was sort of the MDOT site for a little while, which
Yeah.
was the mobile optimized, where it just sort of stripped everything down and you would have like a phone number. And I think that's the same type of pattern that we're observing with early, LLM adoption, which is, we'll just strip everything down and we'll have two different experiences. And I think what we saw is more of like adaptive design that kind of naturally like, oh, you're on mobile, you need to go and design for mobile. And I think the thing that we're really curious about is how to design for conversation and then how to best be able to represent that conversation in the models. So also I'm about to have to run. So
Yeah, I figure we're wrapping up, but
I'm starting to dry out. I've got to get back into the pond. So
well, thanks guys for talking with us. This was another really good one, and hopefully we'll it was fun. So and I saw somebody in the LinkedIn said that they literally turned this on just because they could see the screen. You melting is cracking me up. They turned it on just so they could, because they saw the screen capture. We're like, what is this? So
I think we should do more in costume. That's the net.
gosh. Sure, why not?
Why
All right,
not?
well,
Awesome.
thanks guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.